Good evening, everyone. This is Enough to Keep Going, episode 38, the GX show, the Gamer Experience show. I am Swiss Guard, and I am joined by two of my colleagues, the soft-spoken Osiris Prime, unless you meet him on the battlefield, the virtual
That's
battlefield.
right. Then I swear like a drunken sailor.
And of course, our nerdy, wise old sage who
Oh,
enjoys chasing people off of lawns, DBQ hams.
Man, how did you know what I was doing this afternoon? Anyhow, yes, it's good to be back. It's good to
Right.
good to be here. Thanks.
So we don't have a Gascalese tonight, and which probably means we'll finish the show on time. But the Gamer Experience show is when we actually just get to talk about the games we've been playing. So no high-level topics tonight. We just chat about our playlist, and as we always do at the end of the show, we pick a game for one of us to play. 2 weeks ago, episode 36, Prime was up, and I believe we selected Beyond Good and Evil for you, and you played that on the Xbox One through like the backwards compatibility X360 stuff.
yes, I did.
All right, so how'd that go?
Well, it was interesting. I'd never played it before, so I was going into it, fresh, obviously. And the graphics are, it is what it is. It was an Xbox. It is an HD remake of. I think this was back on the original Xbox, I believe, that it came out, and I guess PS2.
I want to say it was PS2 era.
PS2, GameCube, and Xbox. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So I'd never played it. I think I saw it. I wasn't interested. I guess I don't know. Maybe I didn't know what it was because playing it now, I think back then I would have had a more of an interest in it. But today, kind of playing it, I don't know. It's just so. Well, let me go back here. So it's an action adventure game. So third person, you follow the person behind. You're behind the person as far as the camera angle goes. There's some battling in it. Nothing super sophisticated, but at least so far that I got into it. You got just kind of a melee attack so far, at least that I have, and then like a special attack that you can do. It's kind of like a upward thrust, like a power move, almost like a Haruken um, from like Street Fighter, if you know what that is. And kind of that uppercut move. And there's a little bit of like Pokemon Go, I guess. You like take pictures of creatures and you kind of send it to the science center, I guess. I don't know. It's really
Right, because you're cataloging creatures. You're a journalist, right? Isn't that the kind of conceit of the main character?
I think so. I don't really know what's going on. So that's the other thing about this game. They kind of just throw you into it. Like there's no backstory, at least at the beginning. I'm still at the very beginning, so I don't know. Maybe later on they kind of go into a little bit more. But yeah, you do take pictures. You're taking pictures of animals and creatures and stuff in the world. That's kind of cool. And then there's some puzzle elements, like there's like just now I was actually just playing before we got on the air, and there's this kind of like flower thing, I guess, or maybe it's a creature, I don't know. But when you hit it, it kind of pops up, and then your little traveler guy will actually, I'm sorry, he hits it, and then when you hit it, it kind of like goes in a certain direction, and then you can move stuff with it, or there's like TNT right there, so it like blew that up. So there's some puzzle elements, some simple puzzle elements. So as far as I can tell, it hasn't been anything too complicated that I couldn't figure out. But going back to the story, like I said, it just kind of throws you into this world. You don't know anything about the main character yet, Jade. It's a woman character, which I don't have a problem with. Just in case anybody was thinking that. Excuse me. And there's this war going on, I guess, between these two factions or several factions, maybe. I don't know. I'm not really sure yet. So I don't know.
More like an evil empire. I mean, there's a government, and Jade is kind of part of. I don't know that she's actually part of the rebellion, right? Yet.
Not at this point, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that kind of threw me off a little bit because I don't like that kind of storytelling where it just kind of throws you into it, and then kind of later on it'll kind of roll back. I kind of just like start from the beginning. But I mean, it's fine. The story's fine, but the gameplay is pretty.
It's hard to identify with characters if you don't have any tangible reason to.
Yeah, and obviously this is the first in the series. There's a sequel I think coming out at some point, maybe in the future, which looks actually pretty cool from what we saw from I think E3 last year. But so kind of open worldy game. Obviously, this is back on Xbox, PS2, GameCube, so it wasn't they're not super huge worlds, but you can kind of move around in the areas, kind of big giant areas that they dump you into, which is fine. That's pretty cool. But yeah, it's I don't know. Like I said, it's just kind of weird that it's kind of like Pokemon Go Snap in there, and then this kind of melee combat, and it's just weird. And another thing that I hate from back then, back in the day, is that you have to go to these little terminals to save your game. So when I was playing just now, I'm like maybe not even halfway through like the level I'm kind of going. It's a little bit large. You can kind of branch off. There's different caves and stuff that I'm going. There's a cave system I'm going through, and there's different things you can find. Obviously secrets and stuff. But I had to go all the way back to the beginning just to save my game because I didn't see any other. I wasn't coming to any other terminals, and I didn't want to just start over, which I didn't realize the first time I started playing. So I just like turned it off, figured it had saved on its own, but it didn't. So the next day when I played, I had to start all over again. So thankfully I wasn't that far into it, but it's I don't know, it's fun. Controls are kind of janky. I'm like on this little hovercraft thing, and obviously the camera is like super sensitive. So if you just like turn it a little bit, it's like spinning all around. So you got to be really careful when you're moving the camera around. But I think I'm going to stick with it and keep going and play with it even after today. Obviously, I'm reporting on it, but like I said, I think back in the day, if I had actually started playing this, I would have had a lot more fun with it. Now, maybe it's just because it doesn't have some of the newer, like obviously you can save anywhere now in most games and little things like that. And cameras okay when you're actually going through the world and battling and stuff. It's not too bad. You can actually control it, so it's not fixed like in what was that rare game in the rare replay? Was it Jet Force Gemini? I think where that camera was really really bad, or at least it was. I think they actually fixed it now. Maybe I thought I heard in one of the podcasts. So
I don't recall if Jet Force Gemini had a camera. I had that for the N64, and now I'm trying to think back.
I think it was fixed.
I think they patched in an analog stick camera, so it had a free camera to it. So Prime, talking about camera, because this was one of my questions, because it certainly is a factor in that kind of generation for third-person games. Do you feel like the camera is a product of its time, like it's acceptable, or do you feel, I mean, are you continuing to fight it to be able to figure out where you're going?
I guess the problem is there's times where I can't use it. Like you're so close to like maybe a wall or something where you can't move it, so you're kind of just stuck. So then I'm like, so obviously when you're looking at Jade like straight on, you're like looking at each other, the controls flip, so that screws me up, and then I'm like, and I can't control the camera at that point. So it's like so I gotta kind of fiddle with it until I can figure out. All right, I gotta press down to go forward. So there's stuff like that, but otherwise. Yeah, I mean, the camera seems fine. I haven't really been messing with it too much, so it's not too bad. Just when you're in that, I don't know why, but when you're in that vehicle, they call it a hovercraft. It just seems like super sensitive. So that's about the only other time those two times that I've had issues with it. So
yeah, I know the vehicle you're talking about, and it is a little, from what I remember, it is a little sensitive. So
yeah.
I remember playing it on GameCube. But not back in the day. Probably played it on GameCube in 2008, 2009, and at that stage, it is a. I think it's a really creative game. I think it does combat fine. I think what you'll find is that the camera taking pictures and kind of cataloging stuff ends up being it's a unique mechanic for that time. There wasn't a whole lot of that, and it creates a little bit, at least from what I remember, it's a game that isn't just about smashing the next box at a time when there was, Jak and Daxter and Ratchet and Clank and, all the other kind of 3D action platformer types of things that happened in that generation.
Yeah, the camera part kind of gives me a little bit of a feel of the agility orbs in Crackdown, where if I do see something, I'm like, oh, I want to take a picture of that, and send it, and I guess you get credits with it, so it's pretty cool.
So do you guys I've always I actually there was a time a few months back when I guess it was after the the E3 hype for the Beyond Good and Evil 2, which I think is actually a prequel, if I'm not mistaken. I think I heard hints of that. But they did release Beyond Good and Evil on PC, part of their, monthly or so Uplay type free releases, and I downloaded it. Um, you know, because I've heard so much about it being kind of a cult classic. But as I've heard you guys kind of talk about it, I don't get the sense that it was some super like experience. It was more like it was just unique for its time, and maybe there's a lot of nostalgia there. And I'm kind of curious as your thoughts, you know, playing games today versus back then, and you guys are both, experienced gamers and played games at the time and can compare and contrast. So, do you think it's deserving of its kind of uh, idyllic place in history?
Yeah, I mean, like I said at the beginning, if I excuse me, if I had started playing this back in the day, I probably would have got into it a little bit more. Excuse me. Um, but yeah, but just now with the advances in gameplay and camera and stuff like that, it's an all right game. I don't mind it. And like I said, I'll probably keep going with it. I think I want to keep going with it more, just to kind of get the story more fleshed out. I'm hoping it gets more fleshed out. Now, DB, I don't know if you finished the game when you were playing it.
No, I only got a couple hours into it when I played it.
Okay.
So, but I guess I would say that mechanically, it's other than the camera aspect, it's not. I didn't find that mechanically it was any great shakes, right? I mean, it is very much a gameplay of that generation, but I think the reason that it gets the kind of praise that it does, or has the emotional tugs that it has, is the story aspects, the characters. I think Jade is a really interesting character. At least I found her really interesting. She also is a character that at that time there really wasn't a female lead character with that type of depth. That wasn't just kind of Laura Croft up and jacked up into a masculine type of figure. And so there's a lot there in terms of her as a character, and her supporting cast, right? I mean, even from the beginning, you get her interaction with some of the little kids, and so there's other pieces there that there's a the way that it builds the world and the characters was unique, and was a strong component of why it was received so well critically. So I think as a game, I don't know, but I mean, if how much it holds up. But I think as a story, as a narrative piece, I think it's stronger. And so I'll be interested to see if you stick with it, Prime, and if the characters hook you, or if the gameplay of the early 2000s is too hard to go back to.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the one thing too, there's no jump button, which that kind of threw me off there. The jump button is kind of just like a roll evade attack here in this game. So I mean, that's fine. I've played other games like that, but it's just really weird when there's no jump button. It just kind of freaks me out, or it just weirds me out a little. But no, you're right. There was no characters like Jade, or female character like her, back in the day. So it's nice that, I think you're right. That's probably one of the bigger reasons. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, like, she's not a damsel in distress, or you know um she's not, like, super macho, trying to be, roughneck kind of a character. She's just kind of a normal girl helping out these kids, helping out her friend, her pig friend, which I can't remember his name right now. But so it's kind of cool. It's I think I'll stick with it and keep going, see what happens.
Well, good. Glad that you had some positive things to take and to build on going forward. And I guess as we move forward the next couple of weeks, I'm kind of it's one of the games sitting on my computer, and I don't know if I should try to work it in my backlog because I'm really bad about playing a variety of games. And but if the story really hooks you, I'd be interested in picking it up, just because um, you know we have Beyond Good and Evil 2 on the horizon. And for fans of the series, seeing that, I know was kind of a big deal. So
Okay, so can I talk about the elephant in the room of the fact that Beyond Good and Evil is maybe not necessarily on the horizon? And right,
oh,
we've
okay.
had it announced for many years, and we had a pre-rendered cutscene, and then last year, I think it was actually 2 years ago, is when we got the gameplay. 2 E3s ago is when we got that kind of Michel Ancel showing off gameplay, which was really just a spaceship flying around above a city.
Yeah, I think that was last year.
It
Okay.
was
I
it
think
was the
so.
pre-rendered stuff last year, and then I think people were like, "Oh man, it's just pre-rendered," and I think they hastily did a little gameplay demo. I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was it was rumored, I think, for a long time, and they put it out there this year, and that got everybody excited. But yeah, I don't think it's 2018, 2019 type type horizon, but
Prime, are
it's
you
still out
playing the HD version of it? So right, wasn't there? I think on Xbox they or at least on PlayStation 3 and 360 they did an up-resed Beyond Good and Evil HD. I don't know if it was a full remaster, but at least it had a couple of graphical passes over it. Or are you playing it on PC, or how are you playing it?
No, yeah, this is the 360 HD remaster, or yeah, I guess you want to call it remaster. It doesn't, the graphics themselves still pretty much look like back in the day, a little bit cleaner maybe, but still kind of blocky and kind of jaggedy textures and stuff like that. But it runs smooth. I mean, I haven't seen any problems with it. So, I mean, obviously this is backwards compatibility on Xbox One X. So, yep.
All right. Well, cool. So unless you guys have any final thoughts, do you want to get back? You want to jump into the weekly playlist?
So can I, just for listeners out there, so Prime, is this something that, so who would you see this as a game for? Other, if we hadn't picked this for you, it was free, what, in 2016 on Games with Gold? And as you said, Swiss, it was free before. So
Right.
who, what type of player, what type of, other games that if somebody enjoys, who could be picking this up and find enjoyment out of it?
That's a good question because I haven't played a lot of adventure games like this in a while. Actually, I mean, and to be honest, I probably would have started playing this on my own at some point, especially probably if the second one ever had come out, or if we got like a release date, I probably would have jumped into it just to see kind of backstory and stuff. But um, I guess just that's a hard question because, like I said, I'm not really sure because I haven't played like a lot of adventure games lately, and this one is, like I said, it just kind of mixes a couple things together. So I honestly can't even answer that. I don't know if Swiss can,
I
other than just like nostalgia play, like
yeah,
making me want to
like
go back.
my brain is telling me like if you like kind of the Ocarina of Time era Zeldas, but I don't know how much that's an analogy to the adventure type. I don't have enough experience with the game to really say, but I get the sense listening to you that it's not like a killer challenging experience. It's more about, you know, just having fun exploring and getting absorbed in the story. So maybe the type of gamer that's not looking for I don't want to say an adrenaline rush, but
Yeah,
a
that's
skills based challenge, but more just like an easygoing, just interesting experience type thing.
actually while you're talking there. I guess that, like if you like Tomb Raider, I mean, it's kind of that in that kind of genre. Obviously, Tomb Raider's got a lot of weapon play and guns and stuff like that, but it's got a lot of exploration too. So you can kind of parallel a little bit with that if you want like a modern day game to compare it to, I suppose. I mean,
Nice.
obviously
Okay.
the
Yeah.
puzzles and stuff are like super, hard. At least not that I've seen so far, like I said. But
No water temples.
no, not that I've seen yet. Although the first level there was, we kind of going through water because you're in this hovercraft. So, but you're kind of just going place to place so far with this vehicle. I don't know if it gets more, complicated. I did a little bit of shooting, and you can shoot. You can shoot when you're in the vehicle, and that was nothing super complicated. So, yeah.
Right. Well, so we'll I'm up for the next pick. We'll do that at the end of the show. But for now, we're gonna just talk about what we've been playing, the rest of us, and some other games that Prime has been playing the last couple of weeks. And we'll start with DB, who picked up a PS3 era game. No, another PlayStation 2 era game that's been recently remastered.
PlayStation 3, you're right.
Oh, it was PS3? No,
Yep.
the one that I like, Burnout 3, was PlayStation 2. Yeah.
Correct. Yep.
Paradise was PS3.
Yes, so I have been playing Burnout Paradise Remastered, or at least putzing around with it a little bit. Played a couple hours, and it runs really great. Looks really nice. It's I have a Burnout Paradise on 360, so it's backwards compatible. My son and I had both been playing that relatively recently. It graphically you can tell the difference. Other than that, it's still that exact same game, but we all have feelings about that game one way or the other. I think that it does open world racing better than any title since it, at least in terms of the arcadey feel to it.
Did you play Need for Speed? What was the recent one?
Yes, Payback.
Payback.
Yes, I played Payback. I played Need for Speed 2015. I played Rivals. I played Most Wanted. Yeah, I mean, other than Most Wanted, which also was done by Criterion, but the rest were Ghost games, which at this stage is part Criterion anyways. But because of EA's, Need for Speed mashup of development houses, I think if you're okay with open world racing games, I know that Swiss, you are not. You like your track to track and your crash modes of other pieces, But it is just a smooth experience. Truthfully, I've in the original game, I think I probably put only 6 to 8 hours in, and didn't do a whole lot of races. I did a lot of just cruising around the world. It was kind of a relaxing game of, hunting down jumps and all kinds of other pieces. So this game comes with the remastered edition, comes with all the DLC, and so you get some, you get the Ecto 2 Ghostbusters car, pseudo Ghostbusters car right off the bat. You get the motorcycles. You get access to Baja Island right away, which has whole different, some different terrains and different cityscapes there. And again, I think that it's just a fun experience. I don't know that it never was a hardcore racing game, right? I mean, this is, you drift and boost and crash, and I wish there were some mechanical pieces. I've heard lots of podcasts talk about, they wish for the fast travel updates to get from race to race, and I think I'm still in favor of the fact that it doesn't provide you that, because I enjoy the experience of kind of getting to know the city. I do wish that when I get into a wreck or into a crash, that I could hit the X button and skip through that and keep racing relatively quickly, rather than having to watch the crash porn as it is, in terms of the slow motion and but it runs beautifully, plays great. It is $30 on sale right now at GameStop, and Best Buy, right? I mean, so it's a lot of racing for a relatively cheap package. And I haven't purchased it. I've just been playing the 10 hours free on EA Access. But in some ways, I'm tempted to purchase it just simply to support the Need for Speed, or the Burnout brand, and hopefully it gives EA a reason to bring that back over Need for Speed, to see what they can do with it. So it's been fun. Swiss, I know that you are not a big Burnout Paradise fan. Prime, did you end up playing a lot of Burnout Paradise back in the day?
I did not. On the 360, I think I did the demo a couple times, and then actually when I think it's backwards compatible, I believe. And when it came out there, I jumped into it for a little bit, but I didn't get too big into it. And excuse me, I found it a pretty cool racing game that you can just drive around. Excuse me. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it was backwards compatible, and I think you're right that it's the just drive around part is kind of the crux of it to me. Like if you're okay with that, then it's good. But if you're looking for the kind of point to point racing, being able to progress through something, it's a little different.
Yeah, and I guess the one other thing that I heard in I shouldn't say a lot of podcasts. The one podcast, I think it was IGN Unlocked One, the Xbox One. I guess there was a crash mode that's not in the game. I'm not really sure what that is. Is that I don't know if you can explain that.
Yeah, the crash mode was in the previous Burnouts, right? It was in Revenge. It was in 3. It is the puzzle element of Burnout, where they set you up with an intersection in a busy city traffic, and you try to rank up as much points as possible by what was it, Swiss? It was Aftertouch. What was the thing that you could do?
I forget what they called it, but basically once you get into a crash, I remember in Takedown, you can kind of control the physics. I mean, you couldn't go crazy with it, but you could kind of guide your car and, so you could hit something and kind of let yourself float towards something else and maybe try to take out the fuel tanker, which would explode and fling you across the map this way. And you just try to cause as much damage, which kind of brings me to DB's point. You didn't like the crash porn in this, and I was curious if you thought that maybe the fact that they're doing the open world, which if you like open world games, they did a good job with it, but having that lineage and having to do some of that crash stuff almost detracted from it, because when you're in the middle of a race to race to race to race, you get wrecked. It's like part of the strategy to see if you can take out some guys with you and kind of relatively try to hold your place, and maybe that just doesn't fit in the open world setting.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe it's there, right? I let's just say this. I appreciate when I take somebody else down that to, get the slow motion and to see them flip over. But when I maybe don't quite corner perfectly and catch enough of the landscape to get into a crash, or one of the things that's always hung me up about the Burnout series is, which cars will cause you to just slam into the back of them like they're a cement wall, and which ones you could actually take out. So there's some of that still in here in terms of if I catch a car that I'm racing with, I can perfectly, I can bump it up and down the roads for, miles. Where if I catch a car that's just part of the ones I'm supposed to dodge, it becomes a whole different aspect. So, that piece of it, I think that the ability to skip that to get back, almost like a quick reset type of thing. And this is before, you had Forza Horizon that started with I shouldn't say that it started, but that has implied and implemented the quick rewind, right? That aspect of if you miss a line in a turn, or you catch another car a little bit too hard, to be able to quickly use a bumper and rewind back 5 seconds, 10 seconds, and try that again. And so it definitely creates a different type of driving experience compared to something like that's been out in terms of Forza Horizon 3, and other type of more modern games.
Well, cool. All right, I think we'll go ahead and move on to the next game, and I'm third on the agenda. And so the big thing that I've been playing recently was new Switch game, Kirby Star Allies. Kirby's kind of a family favorite in my household, so I knew I was going to pick it up, and I did last weekend, and we've been playing a lot of it. And I gotta say, I enjoy it. I'm not one to usually go for these platformer games as often. And Kirby especially has always been, the combat's a little chaotic and the challenge is negligible. So it's never been something that I really go to seek out. But I remember back in the day on the original NES playing Kirby, and so from time to time I like to just pick it up and play it, and my kids like it, and for one kid I have it, for one son that I have in preschool, he especially likes it, and it's very forgiving for him. So So that's a good one. I will say that the game is adorable, and I like the sense of humor. I guess there is a soft spot in me that that appreciates throwing little hearts, and uh, you have so you throw the hearts at your enemies, and then they kind of join your team. They'll follow along. You can also absorb them, so you gain their abilities. It's classic Kirby. You can once you gain an ability, you can kind of hit up on the thumbstick and basically enhance what you have. If you have a weapon, you can enhance it with like an element from another one, so they'll share with you. And so if I have like a sword or whatever, and I have a flame guy, he'll make me have a sizzle sword. So it's kind of neat being able to do all that. But some of the stuff, like one, you can get to little puzzles, and you might have to hit up, and your friends, if it's in an area where they might be able to contribute, they'll go and do it. And if you have these little parasol guys, they'll open their parasol and create like a chumbrella for your friends to go underneath. And for whatever reason, the term chumbrella tickles my fancy. So
Sounds weird.
Yeah.
It just sounds weird.
But no, it's good. It felt good to see like my 4-year-old playing it, and he gets a friend, and he's like, "Yay, he's my friend!" And it's like, "Oh, you know." And then you can only have 3, so he turns around, and you have to select which one won't be your friend, and he gets all mean. He's like, "Get out of here!" And he picks one to go away. And I was like, "Wow, dude, you're harsh." And I'm gonna need to talk to you about that afterwards. But no, it's pretty good.
So do you feel like you need to step in at any point in time with Kirby? Are you playing it with him because it's multiplayer, or is it? I mean, in some ways, Kirby is a great my first platformer type of game.
Yeah, he has experience playing Kirby on the 3DS. So, and he's not afraid when he gets stuck. You help me, and then he hands you the 3DS, and you fix it for him, and he takes it back. But he hasn't really had a problem with this game yet. He did play 2-player with my 7-year-old, and that didn't go over so well because of there's a patience factor that's from the older one that's not there. But I haven't played 2-player with him yet, probably because I'm not patient enough. But I kind of just watched him play, and he was having a good time.
Do you know when you're doing the 2-player, is it can you like sabotage the other player, or is it not kind of like in Super Mario, the one Mario game? I can't remember.
I don't think so. It's pretty much, everybody can attack. Your attacks don't affect the other people. As I can move. I'm speaking from my experience with the CPUs. I can move amongst them, and it's not like they block me. I think there might be a little bit where the two of you need to be kind of together-ish on the screen in order to proceed, and I think that's the extent of it. But it's not designed to be playing together, but also have that competitive element like Super Mario 3D Worlds did.
Yeah, that's my experience playing the demo as well. It's designed. I mean, it really is. It's friendly and cooperative versus that kind of angering couch aspect of siblings arguing and yelling at each other for knocking them off ledges.
Yeah, in my house. Go ahead, Prime.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say, does the screen scroll, or do you just kind of move? Like the screen, kind of the background, almost, I guess, moves along with you. Do you know what I mean?
It feels like the screen scrolls. Like it's just the camera kind of follows your character through the level.
Yeah, it's very traditional kind of platformer. I mean, there might be a few auto-scrolling levels, but it plays out kind of like a side-scrolling Mario game, or like any other Kirby game since Kirby's Adventure.
I never played any Kirby games. That's why I'm asking.
Yep. Yeah, it very much isn't in that kind of Nintendo-y, Mario, Yoshi type of vein.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, I mean, if you're into Kirby, and it's a great game, it's fun, cute. If you're into platformers, you're not going to be challenged. I mean, I've played through the first like world and a half, I guess, world, whatever you want to call it, And I've already accumulated like 29 lives, and I haven't died yet. So I think that kind of that goes to tell you what the levels like. I'm imagining the difficulty curve is going to increase soon, but
Is there a
it's not
difficulty
something.
setting?
No,
No. Okay. Just
no, not that I've seen. The one complaint I did have when my two boys were when two of my boys were playing, uh, they wanted they were playing two-player, and then the 4-year-old got bored or distracted. He wanted to wander off and do his own thing. Cool. Okay, now the 7-year-old can play, and he was excited about that. And I had trouble finding the menu. Like you have to go into the control menu and then scroll all the way over, and then basically go into like reset the Switch controller mode. It was just kind of an awkward way of getting out of two-player and into single player. It'd be nice if there was just a menu item that said, "I want to play single player now," and it just lets you reset. Maybe I'm just not understanding the UI or something, but it felt clunky to switch. It's easy to get two-player in because you just got to go on the Joy-Con and hit SL and SR, and it converts the CPU character to player two. Um, but uh, but yeah, so for fans of the series, it's a worthy addition. It's the polished Nintendo title. DB, I think you talked about it. You might have touched on it last week. You played the demo. How'd you find that?
Yeah, I mean, I think everything that you're saying is accurate to my experience, right? I mean, the demo is one easy level and one later more complex level, but even really the complexity of that level is not at a new Super Mario type of precise platformy type of way. Yeah, I mean, I think it's fun. It's a great for three dads on this podcast. It's a great family game. It's a good game for younger kids. It's a good game for older siblings to play with the younger kids. Right. It's a good kind of transition gateway type of platformer. So I think that's for somebody who's used to and really enjoys a 2D side scroller. It's fun, but it's also pretty marshmallowy popcorn. It's really light. I mean, it's fluff, right? It's
Yeah.
Kirby. But again, I think there's a reason that my kids grew up liking Kirby is because it was always really accessible for young kids, and it's good to have that.
Yeah.
Can you play more than just two-player co-op?
You can play up to 4-player if you have the
Oh.
Joy-Cons for it. We have 3 Joy-Cons, but we haven't had time yet to get together and have 3 people play. So
wait, you have 3? Do you not have a 4th?
We had one that was flaky, and to prove to Nintendo that it was not our Switch and it wasn't user error, I bought a used one from GameStop, a used left Joy-Con, and it worked flawlessly. So then I called Nintendo back and said, that thing that you quote unquote repaired, it's not repaired. And then they sent me a replacement. So now I have 3. But but I mean, they were responsive and they got it back. So we got it all. It's all good. All right. Prime. Beyond Good and Evil. It looks like you've played. I'll let you pick which game you want to talk about first, because I don't know if we'll have time to get to all of them. But
yeah, I'm actually going to switch out one. So I had PUBG on there initially. I don't know if anybody has any questions. Go ahead and throw them out there. But I wanted to switch that one out for another game. So I want to switch it out to Sea of Thieves because I totally forgot I played that this past couple weeks. So it was officially released, and I did pick up. Well, since I picked up, I'm doing the 2-week trial on Game Pass, so it's free on Game Pass if you have that subscription service. So I was able to download it, and I was playing it last weekend, and I was playing solo. And it's really hard, really hard solo. I know they said that in some of the podcasts I was listening to. And sometimes people say that, and like in say like DC Universe Online or what's the other one? Elder Scrolls. They say, oh, it's not, it's kind of hard if you go solo. And I played those games, and that's not that bad. So I thought that was another situation like that. No, they weren't kidding this time. It's really hard if you're playing by yourself. So obviously, if you're playing solo, you can get a smaller ship. Still fairly large, though. I mean, even though they say it's smaller, so you still have to, you have to do the sails. You have to drop them. You have to like, I don't know what the term is. I can't remember, but you can like, I guess, tighten them up or pull them back. So it's, the sails a little bit tighter or looser. You have to go down to the bottom of the ship to look at your map because you can't carry it with you. I think you can get like a portable map at some point, but I didn't get that far. So you have to run down while you're sailing, and there's all kinds of stuff going on. Look at the map. Look at your, if you forgot what you're doing, like your quest or whatever, or where you're going, you have to look at that. That's a different side of the room where you go down. So, and then you have to run back up, and you have to, correct your course. When you're looking at the map, though, obviously there's north, south, east, and west, so you can carry a compass with you. So as long as you get the general direction, it's not too bad. But still, you kind of have to go, back and forth and do that part. And when I first started out, obviously I didn't know what I was doing. There's no tutorial as far as I can tell. So you're kind of just going along, kind of figuring things out yourself. So I didn't know what I was doing. I met up with one person at one point. I had sailed away, and I thought I had the quest, checked out, but I didn't. I just like hit a random island that I hit, and I'm kind of just running around. There's like just little shops and stuff that you can go to. So I was doing that, and the person I thought was cool because they left me alone. We were on the island for at least 5 minutes, and then I was in some hut, talking to somebody, and all of a sudden I guess you could tell I got hit because it kind of the screen went red. And I'm like, what the heck was that? So I turned around, and he's sitting there shooting me. I was like, oh, great. And I was like pretty much stuck. So he killed me. So I was dead. And then you just respawn, when you die. But still, you respawn like on a random spot in the map. So that kind of stunk. So then I think that was the only time I died.
Prime, I thought you respawned on boats, like on your own ship. But is that different if you were on land, or how did that work?
Yeah, I respawned. I'm trying to think now because I guess that kind of goes along with what I was going to say. So there was 2 other times that my boat it sank. I say that. And at that point, there's like a mermaid in the water you go to, and it'll take you back to your boat. But I think when I got killed, I just spawned on like an island or something, like a random island on the map. So then I had to go back on my boat and go back to my map and start all over again. But yeah, that's the other thing. So I finally figured out what my quest was. Went to go do it. Stopped on the island I had to go to. I'm running around. I think I had to get some chickens or something. I was just doing like, there's a few different quests you can do. I was trying to get my chickens, and I hear this noise. I'm like, what is that? It sounds like shooting. So I turn around, look at my boat, and it's getting shot at from another ship. So you have cannons on your ship. Even on that little boat, I have a couple I think a cannon on each side. And depending on the boat, obviously larger boats have more cannons on them. So it's getting shot at. It sunk. So I was like, great. So I had to go over there and respawn on. You swim over to where the boat was, and there's like a mermaid that appears, and he or she just takes you back to your boat. So that's not a big deal. But then it happened again. This time though, it's further away from my boat. I thought, at first I was thinking, oh, I can run to my boat and sail away because that's what I tried to do the first time that happened. But that didn't work. So this time I was closer to the enemy ship. So he was kind of facing off to my ship this way, and I was like head on to it. So I jumped in the water, went under the water, swam over to his boat, and came on the other side of where they were shooting and killed them both. Eventually, it took me a little while because they started running and they kind of go back and forth and jump off the ship and come back on. So that was kind of cool. At least I was able to. They did get my ship anyways, but at least I was able to get them. And I kind of just took their ship and started, sailing it off, and I just jumped off and respawned on my boat. So it was cool, but it's definitely a game you have to play with people with at least one other person. So I'm going to try to I think I got another week on my Game Pass, so I'll probably try to get onto it maybe this weekend. Try to get through it on a group. I'll go through the looking for group section and try to find some people to play with. So that was my fortunate and unfortunate experience with Sea of Thieves, but it was pretty good.
So let me ask this question, because I'm the one who bailed on you last week when we were going to play Sea of Thieves together. And I don't necessarily... I want to play with you I'm interested in the experience of it, but I can't even imagine trying to play it solo. So, you know, I guess,
Yeah, I wouldn't even try because you'd get too frustrated.
yeah. Did you end up on a ship doing any other? I mean, so you did the chicken quest where you've got to bring the chickens back in the basket. Were you ever able to successfully complete any of those quests? I mean, I think that's one of the knocks I've heard against it is the progression is really tied to, you know, turning in quests. And if you get halfway through a quest and somebody sinks your boat or steals your chickens, you're kind of stuck. So did you get a chance to turn in any quest to see what happens next?
No, because after that second time, the first time I didn't realize I had needed like a basket or a crate, I think it was. So then the second time I finally got that crate, and I went back to the island, but that's when it got sunk again. I was like, you know what, I'm done. I'm done with this game for now until I can find some people to play with. So it was just too hard. And you know, there's other stories like that where you can actually do your quest. You go back to the whatever island you started off the quest on, and if there's if there's somebody there, they might sink your ship again or steal your stuff, or if I had like a treasure chest, they could steal that. So I, I guess like I could see where they're going with that, because obviously you're playing as pirates, so that's going to happen. But it kind of sucks though that that can happen to you when you're trying to bring your loot back or your quest item back to wherever you're going back to. So I guess I don't know how they can really try to fix that. I don't even say fix that, but try to do that differently. I guess I don't know. I don't know how it could be done differently.
Hmm. I'm interested to hear your thoughts after you get some significant time playing with more people, and if how your impressions evolve of the game. But I think we're running a little bit short on time, so we've kind of all hit our primary games. I think we've been playing the last couple of weeks. We have some other games that we tried. We can do some quick hits. DB has caught Spring Fever, I think.
I certainly have, right? It's trading. So I picked up MLB The Show for PlayStation 4, MLB The Show 18. So I pre-ordered it, which meant I got it on Friday. So I've had the weekend to play it. It is beautiful. It is a beautiful game in terms of graphics and animations. It is better than last year, and last year kind of blew me away after playing it on the PlayStation 4 on the Pro. There's been some server issues over the weekend. There's been some marketplace problems in terms of people losing their in-game currency and not having some quests go through, like where you can do a quest to earn certain baseball cards. So there's been some server stability pieces, but it launches actually today. And so if you own a PlayStation 4 and you have ever been interested in baseball, they have done more to make this both. It's more accessible than last year, and also still an amazingly deep game if you want to go into all the ins and outs of a franchise mode, or they've the Diamond Dynasty, which is kind of their card pack aspect of fantasy baseball conquests and playing against other players. It's so full of content. They've updated the Road to the Show pieces in terms of the story. It's still kind of janky a little bit. So I have lots of stories to tell, but I will maybe save them until my minor leaguer gets a little bit further in his career as well. So anyhow, I'll kick it over to you, Swiss, if you've got
Yeah,
another game to hit.
I've just been playing. Beyond that, I've been playing Zelda. I wanted to make some more progress in that. So hitting some shrines, and I'm appreciating the rhythm of the game more so than I thought I would, wherein I can tinker around, putz around, get to a shrine, okay, stop playing for a while. The next time I actually have time, I can pick it up for 15 minutes and do the shrine and achieve something, put it down. I mean, I understand that they built this game for the Switch, and I know it's on the Wii U, but designing that around like the pick up and play type aspect of it, and I really appreciate that. So, but we've talked a lot about Zelda on the podcast, and there is another game from Prime that I want to hear him talk about, because this seems like a little bit. This is an unusual genre for you, I think.
Nowadays, yes. So I picked up NBA 2K18 on the Switch, Nintendo Switch, because it was on sale. Digitally, it was on sale. Which originally I was gonna try to find a physical copy, but more than likely I'm probably not gonna pick up 2K19 or whatever. Then I'm assuming that's gonna be the next one next year or this year. So that's fine. I just play this one. But yeah, it's been a long time since I played any like real. I don't want to say real sports game, I guess, because Rocket League, I guess, is considered a sports game. But I used to be a diehard actually sports guy. I used to pick up all the NBAs and Madden's back in the day in baseball when they had it out on not just on the PlayStation. Um, so I thought with the Switch, I could take this anywhere. It's a little bit more accessible. I can go through my career on which I started. So picked it up. There's a lot of cutscenes at the beginning of my career. I mean, a lot. I was like, wow. I haven't even. I started one like actual game, and that's because I wasn't connected to the internet. So I guess it just throws you into your season. I'm assuming that's the game I'm playing, I suppose. Um, but when I finally was starting to do like my career, because you have to be connected to the internet. Yeah, it was just kind of going through. You have to try out, and then you get an agent, and then you get finally you get thrown into like the little like hub city world where you can do like different things. There's like dunk contests and 3-point contests, or just like shooting contests that you can do. You can go into stores, you can buy stuff. So it's actually pretty cool. I'm kind of liking it. I probably spent like maybe half hour, 45 minutes just going through that city, and probably half of that time was in the little training area where you can kind of boost your stats a little bit. I guess is kind of the idea. It's kind of like a gym area. You just do different things, like you're on a treadmill, or you can do weights, or you can just do kind of different exercises and stuff. So I thought that was kind of cool. There's one where there's like these lights on this wall, and it kind of helps with your reaction time. So when one light lights up, you go to you use the right stick to go right and left stick to go left and up and down and stuff like that. So I thought that was cool. Um, and then I think I got like a new haircut, and I bought some clothes and stuff like that. And so it's it has that RPG, not really RPG, but just kind of the aesthetic stuff that you can buy that I kind of find interesting in games. So that was pretty cool. And then I did lose all my games though during that tournament, and somehow I still got an NBA contract. So that was kind of weird. I was like, okay, that's cool. So there's this big moment where during that, before those games, there's you're kind of like mouth, I don't want to say mouthing off, I guess kind of bantering back and forth with this other guy, and it comes down to you two getting picked, and even though his team won all these games, I'm the one that got picked. So that was kind of weird, but otherwise it's it's a pretty fun game. I'm actually playing the shooting with the stick, which I find, I don't know, I might switch to the buttons. I don't know. I seems kind of fine. Some of the guys at work, well, they play on the PS4, but obviously you can still use the stick. They didn't like the stick shooting, but I find it okay. Maybe I'll switch off and just kind of see how the button is, if it's any different. Like I said, I haven't played a basketball game in a long time, so I'm really liking it so far. So I'm gonna stick with it and keep going.
Cool. Real quick, what team did you sign a contract with?
I picked the Bulls because that's
right. It signs you to wherever you designate as your favorite team, right? It's not
that's what I picked. So I mean, I know they suck this year, but I'm Chicago born and bred, so or not born, I should say, but just team sports. It's always been Chicago, so that's who I picked.
Cool. I don't think I've played a basketball game since NBA Jam Tournament Edition.
Yes, right. I think that I've played this on the Switch as well, and I hadn't picked up an NBA game since the remake of NBA Jam back on the Wii, and probably a real basketball game since PlayStation 1. So yeah, I really enjoyed the stick shooting on the Switch. I actually, because of PlayStation Plus, I think I have NBA 16 on PS4, so I tried it there just to see, and maybe it's just a difference in the controllers, but I didn't find the stick shooting on a DualShock 4 nearly as satisfying as on the Switch. Maybe it's just the size.
The stick is up high on the Switch, right? On the right Joy-Con. So
down low.
Yeah, that might have something to do with it.
Yeah, maybe that's the placement felt more natural. So, but yeah, it's for a full game that's packed into a little portable Switch. There's a lot there.
Okay, cool. Do you have a last comment?
No, I was just agreeing. And graphics are, I've seen it on the PS4, and obviously that's it's leaps and bounds ahead, but it still looks pretty good even on the Switch. So I'm enjoying it.
And did you play on docked or did you play on your TV?
I've only played undocked
I
so
mean,
far.
I'm sorry, excuse me. Did you play undocked or on your TV?
Yeah, just undocked so far. I haven't tried it on the TV yet to see if
Okay.
there's any like a big difference or not.
All right. So I think that'll about do it. We could go on and on talking about games we enjoy playing because it's what we love to do. But we have kind of a time limit. So, well, in theory, we have a time limit. But so we'll end the night with my friends here choosing a game for me to play. As I said when I was talking about Kirby Star Allies, I'm not a huge like just classic platformer guy. Every now and then I'll pick it up just and I enjoy it to a certain extent. But it's not something that I normally keep on my radar. So one of my options is that the new game Celeste. I think it came out a couple months ago. I'm not sure what the release date was, but I saw it's getting really good reviews, and it's kind of like a indie Super Nintendo-ish, kind of like that indie style, but it's like a hardcore platformer. So pretty much 180 degrees opposite of Kirby, but
Like Dark
uh,
Souls, but 16-bit
yeah.
or 8-bit. Just die and
So
die over and over.
I'm kind of intrigued by that. And the second game I chose as an option is Gorogoa after DB said he enjoyed it on the last episode. It was a game that I had missed, and DB mentioned it as going through the GDC awards. And after I heard about it, and after the show, I read about it, watched the trailer, and it looks cool. So I put that on my list. It's kind of a very artsy puzzle game. Excuse me. And then the last one is a new Japanese RPG, Ni no Kuni 2 Revenant Kingdom. And I will confess, I have played and beaten the first one, so this isn't something that's like an out of my wheelhouse choice. It's just a game that's on my radar. And although they did implement a lot of new mechanics with it, so I'm curious about that. And Agasicles, so all three of my colleagues vote. Agasicles sent his vote, I think, to Prime, and I'll wait and hear the verdict.
All right, so Agasicles chose Celeste, although he didn't specify PC or Switch. So if that is the game, I'll leave that choice up to you.
Yeah. What'd you pick?
Well, I was gonna pick Celeste, but then I saw Gorogoa, and I chose that one because it was just like so weird and just quirky. So that's my choice, Gorogoa.
All right, DB's gonna have to break the tie.
Oh, okay. So I have, after playing the weekend of playing baseball, the only thing that got me to take out MLB The Show 18 was when Ni no Kuni 2 showed up from GameFly yesterday. So I took it out, played it. I'd love to talk with you more about it, but I bet we will both eventually get to it. So I'm going to not create a three-way tie, and so I will break this tie. And as much as I really want to hear and talk more about Gorogoa, because it may actually get me to go back and finish it, I'm going to say Celeste, because what I'm interested in is, so I played it. I love Celeste, and I think you're going to like it too. And one of the things that I want to encourage you to play around with is the assist mode. And so there's a lot of ways to kind of tweak the game. So it is harder than heck. It's Super Meat Boy. But there's an assist mode in there where you can turn on one extra jump or unlimited jumps or unlimited, there's all kinds of, it's very granular. So if you're struggling with even just one map, you can turn it on, you can turn it back off. It isn't, the other nice thing about it is it also made it accessible for my kids to play and not get too frustrated because they each could tweak it. It's a game my wife actually picked up and played for a little bit as well. So I'm going to go with Celeste and see how you and your family enjoy it.
All right, so that probably your pitch for it probably tipped the scales, and I'll probably end up getting it on the Switch then rather than Steam. Did you play it on the Switch or like PS4 or?
No, I picked it up day one on the Switch. So
Okay.
it
Switch.
runs, it's a great little handheld to play on. I mean, in terms of, it fits very well, but it's also, the music is great on the TV as well.
Is it on the other consoles too? On Xbox and PS4? Do you know?
I thought it was on PS4, but
I think it's PS4 and Steam. I don't know if it's on Xbox yet.
Okay, I was just wondering.
It says Linux, Mac, Windows, Switch, PS4, and Xbox One. So, I think it's only $20. So, if anyone else is interested in picking that up, it shouldn't be too much of a burden. And all right, so I will get that, and in 2 weeks I will report back. So, I think anybody have any last plugs or pitches before we sign off for the night?
I believe it is you and I, Swiss, on the new show for Thursday.
Cool. All right. So, yep, Thursday we'll talk about what we thought was the most interesting of the past week in gaming. Until then, thank you very much for listening and watching, and have a good evening. Goodbye.